Hey Rebel Scum, as promised, I am back with another Gentle Giant Jumbo review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new character from the television subline within the Jumbos. The first in that subline was Mandalorian in his Beskar armor here. And then we got Thrawn from Rebels. Now we have Mandalorian. No special title, just The Mandalorian. I'm going to call this Mark 1 armor, taking a page from Iron Man in the Marvel line. This was, of course, the armor we saw earlier on in the first season before he got any upgrades. So it's just this very early on armor with some browns, some yellows, and some blues in there. So drastically different than the other Jumbo release, and it's not just the armor. There's other things we'll get into as well. First, taking a look at this packaging, we can see they went with the artwork from earlier on in the show. This might even be from the first episode in the entire series. Obviously, that shot in the back here is from the first episode, where the first scene where we got to see the Mandalorian entering that cantina on that icy planet there. Looking down on the figures in the back, there's no reveals here. Everything has been introduced already. We got some concept series figures. We have that Mandalorian, as they call him, jetpack, in his full Beskar, his upgraded armor there. Tarkin, in Thrawn and the Imperial Commander. Nothing new here. These have all been released already, and you can get them either as Premier Guild exclusives or you could track them down elsewhere. Then back around on the front, we could see that he comes with a new accessory here. He has this amban rifle as opposed to the blaster pistol. So we'll be taking a look and comparing and contrasting the two figures. But just a quick note, this guy was a Premier Guild exclusive, shared exclusive with Big Bad Toy Store. So the only two ways you could have gotten him is if you were a Premier Guild member, or you could acquire him on Big Bad still. I think currently you can't get him anymore on the Gentle Giant website, but you can still get him through Big Bad. So why don't we crack this guy open and take a look at what's inside. As always, easy pop on these clamshells. You just take the back off here, some tape, and just a little pressure fitting. We got those great card backs we come to see and love, featuring that old Kenner style artwork here. Obviously it's a deviation from the original 99, so they went with sort of new colors for the pill and obviously the artwork here. Still keeping the Star Wars card emblem here though, not changing it to its own sort of unique Mandalorian type call out. Have the figure here. And we can see that amban rifle secured here with just some tape. This is a completely newly tooled piece. This hasn't been released before with the other figure. Maybe on some of the retro line you might see this come packed with the both versions of the Mandalorian, but this one is unique to this figure. And then of course we got our guy himself here. I always like to use sprue cutters to take these things out. You could open them from the back, and this way you don't scratch the figure. It's easier than trying to fuss with these, and they cut really easily, and the sprue cutters are angled so they let you get really close in to cut these little tabs. And here's our boy. Now they went with more of a, although it's a sort of a felt material with this pleather front on the front, sort of like Zuckuss's layer in the original Kenner figures. The style of the cape is more akin to like your Kenner Darth Vaders, your Kenner Obi-Wans with the fold over flap, as opposed to the sort of this more traditional cape that came on the jetpack version. So it's a little bit of a callback to the first season, and I guess the original 12 line of characters had capes like this, and then later versions of characters had more traditional flowing capes. So I think that's kind of a neat sort of homage to the way the lines were in the Star Wars line and the subsequent lines, sort of the evolution. So this guy was first before he got his armor, so I think that's kind of a cool design feature that they chose to go that way. Give you a little bit of a detail here and a close-in. So you could see that the great coloring they have on his leg here, on his armor, that yellow, that brown, multiple color palettes here, but still keeping true to sort of that Kenner style design. Nothing too fancy. And I think just a couple color schemes are appropriate. I mean, they did that with Boba Fett. He had multiple colors on his armor, on his visor. So no deviation there from the style. But still a very similar mold to the jetpack version of the Mandalorian. This is pretty much, I think it's just going to be a repaint for the most part. Not too much divergence there, and it's exactly the same helmet. But then that cape is completely newly tooled. This is not a recast, although it might be the same material. It's just a different cut, I guess, essentially of the cape. So this is a new tool for this guy. So checking him out with his weapon here. This is kind of unique. I mean, there's no little grip protruding from it, so you can't hold it like a classic blaster like the jetpack version does here, where he could hold the gun. We'll see if it fits in his hand. He has different, well, nope, these are exactly the same hands too, so this might be a little bit of a challenge. As I was just saying, this is exactly the same figure, just a different coloring on it and just a different design with the cape, although it is the same material, I believe, and just a different cut and fold here. So we'll see if it fits in the hand. I haven't seen this display before. I'm assuming it does, because this hand's kind of a really big grip to it. So you should be able to at least work in the stock if you try hard enough. And yep, it does. I mean, he's going to awkwardly hold it. He can hold on to the grip here where the trigger is, but obviously these guys were never designed for doing two-handed holds on weapons. They're just these 5 POAs on them. They're not going to cross their arms, but he holds the gun enough to you know, create that fantasy situation like you would back in the 70s and 80s of an action figure holding a weapon. So he could definitely hold it in stick-up position at least, but he's not going to be able to fully extend his arm pointing a blaster. And I'm sure you could probably do other positions here too, where he could hold it in a sort of a sentry style position. So however you'd want to display them, I think that works just fine. But the goal here is just so that they could hold it. I mean, these aren't intended to be used as action figures in any kind of sequence, so I think it works. It's pretty cool. It's a great design on this weapon here. Give you a little bit of a close-up. You can see that they got the scope in there. They worked in even a little trigger. A lot of detail on it, despite still going for that Kenner-style look. They didn't sacrifice any element that would make this not clear that it was the Ammon rifle. So, of course, it has that fork at the end, so it really is able to pull that off. So, a great little piece. You know, my only regret is that he didn't include the blaster as well. It would have been nice to have 2 weapon accessories, but if you look at his hands, he's not going to be able to dual hold anything here. This would not fit in here, and I don't think that would fit in here either. So he really only has that one option. Plus, it's great because this way, if you have them both, you have the full set of weapons here between the 2 characters. And he uses the blaster pistol, I want to say, more than the amban rifle in the series. I mean, there's a couple more interesting battles where he does use this, whether he's disintegrating Jawas or fighting the Cryot Dragons or something like that. But it's cool that we finally got this weapon in the Jumbo line. It's a great looking weapon. It's just fun to have here. So it just gives you a little bit more if you wanted to switch it up between the 2 of them. The other thing I would have appreciated if there was a way to sort of mount this on the back. I don't think Kenner would have designed any kind of holster. The only character I recall ever having a holster was Han Hoth, and I don't think that was intentional. I think, or maybe it was, but it was just sort of like the loop that was there. You could stick the blaster in. Later figures that came out in the Return of the Jedi line had some holsters on the belts, but I'm talking about like molded onto the figure. I believe Han Hoth was the only one that had a molded holster onto him that was functional in a sense. But something would have been nice here to sort of mount the rifle on the back. But other than that, I think it's a great figure. Really like this one. I'm liking more and more where they're diverging from the original 99 and just creating some new inspired characters from television shows, from concept artwork, the Ralph McQuarrie series. We always love seeing those guys come up, whether Hasbro does them or somebody else does them. It's great seeing those pop up into the line. Hopefully we'll get some more, maybe even from video games in the future. That would be really cool to see a Jumbo-inspired video game character. But he's another great addition to the TV line series. Right now we only have these three. Of course, coming out soon, we're going to have Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett, and we're going to have Ahsoka. So this line is growing. We're definitely seeing more come from the TV mediums. We're seeing more come from the sort of expanded Kenner line, and then we have some coming for the prequel series very soon. I don't want to spoil that, but you might be seeing that next week. So that's all for this guy. As I was saying earlier, he is a Premier Guild exclusive, but he's sold out, but you can still get him on Big Bad Toy Store. So check that out if you want this guy. He might not be around much longer. There's not a whole lot left of them. Once they sell out on BBTS, that's it. So you'll only be in the secondary market. So if you're a Jumbo fan or a Mando fan, you definitely want to pick this guy up. I mean, he looks amazing. He's going to be a great addition to your Mando collection. And, you know, although he only had a brief appearance, I think it's a cooler design with this sort of like patched together armor than the very clean monochromatic sort of Beskar armor. Just has a little more character to him, and then he just, I don't know, I just think he looks a little neater, and this just has more of a story it tells than the shiny version. But yeah, so that's it. We're going to have more Jumbo reviews, like I just said, next week, so tune back for that. That one should be really cool. It's going to be our first look at a prequel Jumbo. I don't think anyone has done any retro prequel figures yet, so this will be kind of cool to see that. So we'll see. I haven't seen what the weapon design looks like yet, so this is going to be a surprise for me. So like, subscribe, and follow. As always, there's always something new on Rebel Scum every day, and we will see you guys next time, you Rebel Scum.